This meeting is being recorded.
Yeah, we are. That's the lady I wanted to hear. And hi, everybody. Welcome back. It's been a couple weeks. And for folks who are new to being here, thank you for coming. And one thing that we've said in the past negotiations is that we use this owl and it picks up noise really. It's very sensitive to noise. So as soon as you click a pencil or something, it'll just directly go to you. So if you want to be on camera, make all the noise.
Stop making noise now.
And the other thing is sometimes it's hard to, when we're too far away, it doesn't pick up what we're saying. So you can just be mindful of that so that it can hear, folks out there on Zoom land can hear us. So we are bringing several things back today. A package within a package within a package. Sorry. Bringing back your package, but in a package.
Oh, a jumbo package.
A jumbo
larger package.
A larger package of a lot of things.
I think our goal is to see, we feel like we're getting pretty close on a handful of articles. And we have an interest in trying to kind of move things off the table if at all possible. So we brought a collection, I think 6 articles, kind of working off of, and 3 of them are the articles you packaged last time, 4, 13, and 14. We also have 8 and 18, which we feel like we got really close on last time we met. And we have 33 that we've put into that package as well. So that's miscellaneous, which doesn't tell you much. Our hope is that maybe we can move kind of a larger body of articles off the table in this session, or get substantially closer to being able to do that and kind of moving on. These are all our articles that we've spent a fair amount of time talking about and exploring interests and so forth. And I think you'll see that in this package, we've tried to include a fair amount of movement, and hoping that we've included some things that will be attractive to your group that might help us bring those to closure.
Okay.
Said that so much better than me, Brian, thanks. I don't know where we're starting.
Might as well just start with 3.
Start with 3, my favorite. The announcements. What do you want to add? It's coming around.
Perfect.
So they're coming around separately, but we are presenting them as a package formally.
And they should be electronically in your folder too.
Okay.
Not yet, they're not yet, sorry, they're not in your folder. So if you look at H, we danced around and put words together in different orders. I think we've come up with something that meets all of our needs, allows for there to be some agreement between, flexibility between the principal or the building administration and the rep. So it just reads, upon request, the council shall be allowed up to 10 minutes once a month to make announcements as a scheduled item in a mutually agreed upon building meeting. And we, I think that last piece was struck out. That's the only, the only change in that one. We can go to, that wasn't part of the original package. We can do
Article 4. Article 4.
Yeah.
Can I, before we move on,
Yes.
can I just get a clarification about what examples of what those building meetings could be? In your mind.
I think it could be collaboration meetings. I think it could be professional development meetings. I think it could be, if any time the whole staff is required to come together.
Okay.
Which might include a CNI or an SNA day.
Right? And I think we talked about last time that if there's not enough time to get on a schedule to have 10 minutes, then you know, be able to work on having the flexibility to jump in on a collaboration meeting or jump in on a professional development meeting if it's agreed upon between at that building. That makes sense.
Okay,
Instead of blocking into just one type of meeting.
understood.
That's it. I believe we tried to put it all together.
Okay. Any
How does the district see a disagreement between the reps and the administrator about mutually agreed upon? We've got buildings in this district right now where the principal says, these are the days you can have your meetings. You can't have meetings on any of the other days. And the only Wednesdays are collaboration Wednesdays. And we're talking about a large comprehensive high school. Staff are not together on collaboration Wednesdays. So telling the union they can hold a 10-minute meeting when staff are not actually together is disingenuous and it doesn't make sense. And when they've asked for time on PD Wednesdays or other time, SNA time, they're told, no, you've got your Wednesday. It's all pre-booked at the beginning of the year. So when you look at our language versus your language, that's a concern.
Yeah, I don't think that example that you're giving would be meeting the spirit of our language. So it might be that it's on a collaboration day 1 month, but if I had somebody who was saying, that's the only choice every single month, then I don't think that's the mutually
That's
agreed
not
upon.
mutually agreed upon.
No,
That's helpful.
there's gonna have to be some flexibility or give, you know, I think we envision it like, you guys would like to have it on this day. I've got PD that's scheduled like, and it's gonna be tight from beginning to end. I don't really, can't really spare time. So how about we do it at this other meeting instead? I mean, that's, I think what we're envisioning, but I don't believe that offering one option to me is not the definition of mutual agreement.
And with collaboration days, I think at our last meeting, we talked about there would be an option for that to be, the meeting could be at the beginning of a collaboration time where people do start gather to do those 10 minutes and then disperse for a collaboration time or something to that effect. Like, I think part of it was empowering buildings to figure out what works with the spirit of what you're sharing in terms of, you know, meeting everybody's needs.
Yeah, because I would agree that to have it on a collaboration day and say, well, it's gonna be the last 10 minutes, yet I expect you all to be all around the building, that's not really fair, right? And I wouldn't say that's mutually agreed upon.
The other thing to think about is it might be nice to have the flexibility of having it be on a different Wednesday, because you might have something you need to get out to your membership and it's collaboration Wednesday instead of a PD Wednesday. So now you have a little bit more flexibility that way instead of having to wait a week or 2 weeks for the next PD Wednesday would occur. So there's some support for you there too.
Was there any conversation about the notice that was in our language? Because I see there's no notice in your language. So traditionally, reps just reach out to the administrator with as much notice as they can, right? But sometimes information's coming down hot from the press and information comes down Monday and we got a Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
2 days later, so.
I think we didn't feel like that having a required notice was necessary in our language because of the tweak that we had made to it.
Okay.
Just to be clear, so 3 stands by itself? or-
No, it's part of the package.
Everything
So-
we're presenting is a package.
Can I clarify the pack? Everything's the package?
Yep, there will be 6 articles that get passed out.
So the mega package.
It's like a Costco kind of.
It's 7.
Okay.
I'm getting 4 Article 3, then, is that what you're saying? I need one of them.
7.
Yeah, 7.
Some for the
As long as you know mayonnaise.
Thank you.
Are we ready to move to number 4?
Yeah.
All right.
Coming around.
Coming around, all righty.
Thanks.
So number 4 should look familiar because it's basically our acceptance of your acceptance of the previously discussed language and changes, including the addition of gender identity, replacing transgender, and then the updated language that was proposed last time from you for evaluation of students, including the addition of district will notify the member and the district's record shall reflect the change in the fact that it was affected without the consent. And that's,
So that should match,
I was gonna say, this is our proposal, right?
this
Yeah.
is your proposal.
yes.
We want to be clear that
We're
that
accepting.
we're
your
proposing.
But only in the package.
That's right.
Only-
That's right. Which is how you guys presented it to us last time as part of that.
Proposal.
So that's why we didn't just bring it like, hey, we're ready to TA this, but you had presented it in the context of a package. So,
Difference is, we would have been 1/3 done and now we're only 1/7.
yeah, we're getting there though.
We're on the way, on the way. There we go.
Have faith.
So we want the other part of, you want to just go in numerical order or 13 and 14?
We can do 13 and 14 next.
13 and 14.
But we'll just kind of get in the last one. When I'm arguing with my spouse, we're not getting the last one.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you, Diane.
Some of this.
Thank you. Okay, I'll walk you through 13 and 14. Article 13, there's not a whole lot of detail to. What you're going to see as we go through, it's a combination of these articles, right? And we've adopted your proposal in not the exact same way that you presented it, but in a way of repurposing those family illness leave days or kind of repackaging them within our basket of leaves that are offered by the district. So when we get to 14, you'll see that we've proposed the strikeout of those 5 family illness or injury leave days. And what we proposed in conjunction with that, first of all, 4 of those 5 days would land as just sick leave. So they could be used for any of the purposes, not just family illness, could be your own illness. It could be any reason you could use sick leave. You would now have an additional 4 sick leave days. Down in A3, that would change that reference there again to 14, but then the second one from 12 to 16. And that's the only proposed change in 13, and you had not proposed any other changes either. So the remainder of the article would be current contract language. Where's the other day? Because there were 5 of those family illness days. And in the context of this package, we have agreed to add that day as an additional personal leave day. So that would take personal leave from 2 days to 3 days per year. So that would have the deletion of the language about, that trigger that would have added a personal leave day in the past that we hadn't hit, the 700-day threshold. So that matches your proposal in section A. In D is where you see the strikeout. You had a note there as that this was being struck as long as those days were added to sick leave. In our proposal, they are, so we just didn't think that we needed the note there. So it's just shown as a strike. I think that the place that we still have disagreement in this article is we are continuing to propose the deletion of sabbatical leave. We don't view it as a viable offering right now. And it hasn't been used. It's been held in moratorium, so it's not something people have had access to. We feel like it's a little bit outdated, so we are proposing to remove it and are hoping that the greater flexibility that people will gain through the other changes in these two articles, improve, the way people use leave and what's available to them. I think that's everything. There were no other proposed changes in 14. Happy to answer questions about that, if anybody has any.
Moving on. And Sue, I think
Yeah.
Amy.
Sometimes I can't tell if Eric's thinking. And,
Yeah,
I mean,
I
yeah.
was just thinking, I'm just,
Well, and that's just a
Hungry.
quick clarification. So with the personal leave, and I'm just looking at A6, it says members shall have the option of being reimbursed. So if a member does not use the 3 days, if we were to accept your language, shall have the option, if they don't use it, a member's going to have to reach out to accept being reimbursed, or they just lose those 3 personal days?
I don't know how it works now. We're not proposing any modification of how the current system works, so I don't know if you have to affirmatively do something.
Well, and we get 1 day rolled over automatically.
This is the very first time, the end of this school year.
So no, we did it last year.
Yeah, and 1 day would automatically be rolled over.
Yeah, and we had to ask for it last year. We did it once.
And then if you wanted it paid, you'd ask for it. So I'm just kind of clarifying then with this language, would that go away?
I think the
and
reason was-
automatically, or
Yeah,
we-
no, because you
The
had the,
rollover.
right, because you had the option of, do you want to carry it over or do you want to get paid?
I think
And
if
now
you
there's
didn't
no
opt,
rollover.
if you didn't opt to have it paid out, it would automatically roll over, would it not?
Correct,
Okay, so now there's
no rollover.
no rollover. It would
Okay.
just be paid out.
So then this 6 would have to be clarified, because it wouldn't be a shall have the option of being reimbursed. It would just automatically be reimbursed if members didn't use it.
Yeah, I
Is
think we
that
could
how
probably
you're
write
looking
that
at
a little better. Who would choose not to, right?
Right.
So shall have the option of being reimbursed. That's kind of an odd.
I don't know, I'm just looking
Yeah,
at it
for sure.
going.
Yeah,
Because it made sense when the other one.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we can work on that. I don't think we have any difference of opinion or
So
philosophy
that
on
would be the
that.
intent, that if they didn't use it. then
Those
they-
days get reimbursed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Did you have a question there? So 8 and 18, I think we're on now.
I'm sorry. Just as I look at it, it's got that June 1st day.
Yeah,
And I guess there would still take some affirmative action by the teacher, because if you had a personal leave day planned after June 1, then you would not, by June 1, report that you wanted to be paid out for your unused days, right?
I don't see why there's a date on it at all, you know what I
It's
mean?
probably a payroll thing. I would have to,
But they run that on the very last day, the 30th of June or whenever it is.
yeah, I'd have to check in on that. I don't.
well,
I don't
and
have
that
enough information.
option of carrying a day over being paid would go away, so it wouldn't matter if the member had a personal day they were gonna use on the last day, payroll would look, say, oh, you had one left, it's an automatic payout,
Yeah.
because there's no rollover at that.
Yeah, that may be the case. I just don't know exactly what their cutoff dates are.
Because like some people are doing extra little things or reimbursements. I swear there's like one last paycheck. It doesn't go to everyone necessarily, but there's a final payout to finish the financial year.
Well, you want to clear up.
But it's always after the school year's over.
There is a lot there in the dock payroll.
Right.
At the end of June.
So it may not be an issue. So I think we're happy to make the language clear.
Okay.
Brian, so the 5 days that for family leave, you're seeing that I think you almost said the concept, but maybe you did. But 4 are going to sick leave and that 1 becomes personal.
Correct. Yep.
It's like a little bit of trade. Thank you. Thank you.
So we did a lot of work as, I think last session on 8 and 18. We came back with a lot of agreed to language in both, so want to make sure that we honor that. We had a small committee come together during the last session. I think there was a lot of good information that at least our team came back and shared that we used to craft this last little bit of language. So I want to just cover that last bit, but let's start with 8 and go to, I'm going to use my electronic version because it's, oh no, I don't need to do that. Page 3.
So it looks like the everything like the C
Yep,
in Article 8 is the same language.
yep, we agreed to everything you agreed to.
Yeah, I believe the proposals are the same until you get to that
Yep.
last section.
Thank you.
Yep, everything's the same until we get to E. We struck recent and or documented because we thought that was already satisfied with the last portion of the sentence there that says that are likely to pose safety problems in the future. And Brian, you have a way of describing that piece of.
Yeah, I think
it's
for
not
us,
necessarily useful.
I think the important piece was to have that reference to something being documented. So in your language, it said recent and or documented. So our concern had been that there would be some scenarios where the district had an obligation to report things that were not documented if they were recent. And so we felt like recent wasn't necessary any longer. And I think you had made this same point because you've got this piece about likely to pose a safety problem in the future. And so there can be an analysis, okay, that happened in kindergarten and this student is a freshman, so it's not likely. So that was taken care of. So we felt like recent wasn't needed. And you had deleted that as, well, I can't remember. I have my handwritten piece here.
We did not.
They
Yeah.
did not. That was that's
My handwriting. So we just felt like that wasn't necessary and it was enough just to say has a documented pattern of behavioral problems likely to pose a safety problem in the future.
And then where we spent a lot of work and time and trying to come up with some language to describe this building, what the duties of the building student conduct committee would be. We drafted some language, we kind of shared it over the bow and got some more feedback from you all and revised based on the feedback that we got. So page 4 at the end, each building shall have a student conduct committee that reviews behavior trends, qualitative and quantitative data, interventions, longitudinal outcomes, and supports the implementation of the student discipline handbook. This committee may exist within another committee, and will consist of voluntary representatives from licensed and classified groups. The building administrator will collaborate with the GBEA to establish a team with at least 3 licensed staff members. Meetings will be held monthly, and the time shall be determined by members once all committee members are selected. The duties of the committee are to review measurable data, including discipline referrals related to overall trends in student behavior, review current system processes and procedures to identify areas, it's not written, areas, successes, I think it's supposed to be areas of concern, and propose solutions that align with the school safety and discipline handbook, so we can address that. Inform the development and adjustment of building level intervention strategies to improve behavioral outcomes throughout the school. Share information and solutions with the appropriate building staff as needed, and communicate the meeting minutes to building staff monthly and submit them to the lead facilitator of the district safety and student conduct committee quarterly. So those are kind of what we came up with. Any questions on that? I can try to find the key points that we were trying to include, trying to hear the needs of everyone. We were hearing loud and clear that there needs to be a more accurate way to report and get the information to the district level about the types of behaviors that were happening in buildings, an accurate representation of referrals, and a systematic process within each building to make that happen and to get to where it needs to go. So I was trying to include that language. Also, I heard loud and clear that they need to be held at a time, a space where members can participate. So while we aren't going to be able to pay folks for their time specifically, if it's mutually agreed upon within a building, that allows flexibility for the principal to be able to say, you know, we can cover your class for this time. We can once a month, depending on who's participating in the meeting. So trying to include that flexibility there. Anything else did we talk about during this group? Anybody from the team can jump in of what we heard and how we were trying to incorporate it. So.
I don't have anything.
No questions, or I can go to 18 and then. Oh.
One piece about the very end, number 5, and I know the handbook's not out yet, but it says the minutes will be submitted to the lead facilitator. Is
Yeah,
there gonna be, like, is that a thing? Is there
No.
a single individual? Are there facilitators, like from the
I
different?
made that language. I'm
groups?
just gonna say it out loud.
That's
'Cause
fine.
what-
It's-
I'm just gonna
it's
say I
not-
made
It's not bad, I just don't know what it
No,
means.
but what it is that there's a district committee.
Right.
So it's like, hey, it's gonna be submitted to, it needs to be to whoever's leading that group, or if there's a hub. Right now, all of that information already goes into a district database of
We
sorts.
have like our safety committee minutes are all on a drive, so we have access to them. So we imagine this might be something similar, some kind of standardized protocol. It's all there, it's all accessible. So whoever is helping coordinate the meeting has all of it right there and available.
In our original language, which we had kind of shot over the bow, was to submit it, you know, or to make it available. And that came back as like, no, we want this to be turned in to someone specifically. So we don't really know who that someone is, but whoever the lead of that group would be, could be responsible for ensuring that that information gets to where it needs to go.
Is there like language or some kind of a understanding for the committee for next year when the handbook comes out? Is it going to be the new handbook coming out in August, right, is what I'm told by my administrator.
Right.
And we'll all get trained on it when we come back to school next fall. So my assumption is that's when the district level meetings are gonna begin, right?
This is about the district safety committee.
Correct.
Okay. So,
That's the group that oversees the handbook.
Yes.
Yes?
I don't know if the
I
safety
mean, that's
committee.
that is the group
One of
that
the
has,
duties of that.
it's one of the
Right,
duties,
right.
yeah.
So like, because I haven't seen the handbook, does the handbook outline, is there a facilitator or facilitators or?
That
It
meeting
doesn't.
doesn't change.
This is the same committee that's been in the contract. So,
You're right.
It's-
So this is where 8
my-
and 18 get tricky, right? Because in
Yeah.
your last proposal, I think that's when you were
We
coaching
split
tennis.
That sounds about right.
Split out, right? We split out, you all
Right.
split out the two different kinds of committees at the building level. Both of those bodies of building work would go to that district level committee that would oversee both.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Correct.
Most of the language, of course, is on page 3 in their current counter proposal here, which they haven't gotten to, I realize, but it's in D, or at least
Of 8
what
or
is currently E
18?
of 18.
Of 18. Let's go to that. I believe that the only change to 18, we accept your acceptance of all of the things that you put in 18 when you came back, and we crossed out on page 3 because we didn't think it was necessary. Also, new committee as determined by members, section 8. Because that's been determined.
Or at least, if we go with this language.
If we go with it, right, correct. Yeah, and the definition there for this district student discipline safety committee, I think that's what I'm referring to in that number 5. To be clear.
Can I go back to 8?
Sure.
When it says under the strike pending agreement to small committee, second paragraph, this committee may exist. No, the next paragraph, sorry. The building administrator will collaborate with the GBA to establish a team with at least 3 licensed staff members. Was there any consideration given for particularly large buildings and particularly small buildings? 3 seems to be a one-size-fits-all. So I just want to be able to address and be flexible enough to be able to meet the needs of small and large buildings alike.
I think we did talk about that, with that at least, again, you were talking about your buildings being like 3. And then thinking about larger buildings being able to have more if needed. We felt like 3 would be the minimum for us, at least.
That's why it's at least, yeah.
But I think in some of the feedback we got back from you, I think it was for every 20 or 25 members, there would be 1 person. So 3 is
So we were trying to.
60 to 75, whatever that number is,
Makes
to
sense.
accommodate that larger school.
In regards to pay, I gotta say, it's difficult to get folks to, spend their time volunteering for committees for which there's little personal reward when there's a ton of things on their plates already.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to identify maybe some creative ways that we can fund stipends for these folks that are going to participate in this, on this committee. It just emphasizes, we feel it emphasizes the importance of this committee in addressing discipline issues at the building level, working for problem solving, and really making sure that we are reporting accurately to the district level so that we can really see a wide variety of trends. I mean, the committee is extremely important to us, but we also want it to function. And if we struggle to find folks because there's no pay, it's going to be difficult to move forward on this. What I'm saying is it's going to be difficult for this committee to function well.
I guess we're open if you have other creative solutions as to how that might look. I mean, it was surely a cost factor, I think, as we were looking at it.
I think as I was, when you start calculating the amount per person, and it's not just licensed folks that would be on the committee as well. So it's at least 3 at $100 a person, making that number up, 300 plus another 300 for the classified staff.
Classified would be
who would also
receive the
be on
stipend,
there.
okay.
And then if it's this
'Cause it's
committee,
extra
then
duty.
it's also the safety committee, which is a very important, committee as well. So then you double that, then, you start,
Well, this doesn't say anything about the safety committee. The safety committee can be its own.
it can, but if we want folks to be on the safety, I mean, you can make the same argument about folks needing to be compensated to be on the safety committee as well, right? And I think it's an important committee, but maybe not. Or if folks choose to be on the student conduct committee because it's being paid, they're gonna maybe choose not to be on the safety committee because they're not gonna get paid, so it's, how do we ensure that it's equitable and fair across, committees and across, the both groups? So I'm not saying that it's not worth exploring, or that people don't deserve it. I think everything you said is correct.
Okay.
And I think it's just numbers,
And it's a complicating factor when you go back to the committee may exist within another committee. So I know we have lots of conversations about different, even in our small group conversation about how and when this work might happen. And so does pay or not pay or when it happens start to impede on how and when those conversations fit within what's going on in the building and the cadence of meetings and different things that are happening? I think that can be a complicating factor as well.
What, can you give me examples of other committees that it would be folded into potentially?
I think we've got a
An
couple of
MTSS meeting or PBIS meeting.
Leadership meeting, which will be MTSS leadership moving forward.
Is that's at the elementary level, MTSS leadership, or is that,
Moving forward, it's gonna be all of us. Like our
so
leadership
it's gonna
is
expand
gonna
into
be,
middle school
which
and
is
then
what
high
we're,
school?
like at Quorums, that's what we do. We're doing, if you look at our leadership folks, they're doing this, the MTSS work also, so we blend them.
And so those are team leaders.
Team leaders already has a stipend. Right.
We talked about that in our small group committee up front, was leaving the language vague enough that buildings had flexibility in when and how it happened, and wasn't tied to a specific thing that may or may not be in place yet. So, for example, yes, this is in place at elementary, it's not at middle and high. Middle and high still need to figure out how and where to get the work done, and maybe moving towards having the same kind of teaming structures as elementary, that we're in that transition process, right? So keeping it general enough to the body of work that is important, and not so much where it happens.
Are the current safety meetings happening in conjunction with these other meetings, MTSS, PBIS, ILT, leadership, department chairs, whatever you want to call it? Or are the safety meetings happening separate? Are they their own thing? Because I definitely have a concern about just rolling them into other conversations, given the amount of time that we think is going to take to really look at the data and talk about what's happening in the building and how can we make some adjustments, and then what does that take? Do we need to train people? Do we need to talk about it as a staff? Do we need to gather some more information, right? While you're also trying to talk about MTSS or attendance or.
I think right now they're combined up with the general safety committee meeting. aren't they?
Correct.
Yeah. So that obviously would be the case moving forward. But your question is, should they be combined up with anything, is the question.
And I think our conversation, and you guys can chime in, is that depending on the level, elementary, middle, or high, depending on what the topic is, a lot of these conversations are already happening within a group already. So we want to make sure that that flexibility is there, that we're not creating a separate group to talk about something there's already a group of folks that are kind of looking at that. So if you add a responsibility or something to, not a responsibility, a duty that's listed here, then we wouldn't have to be doing double the work, wouldn't be double up.
I mean, the only thing I would add is, I mean, I look, and I very well could be wrong in my understandings, but I look at MPSS as ways to address students' needs for their academic needs, their attendance needs and everything else. So it's very focused on individual students. PBIS to me is the big general thing. And when we're looking at classroom or school policies, right, to me, it aligns most closely with PBIS. The PBIS for me historically has always been, and rightly or wrongly, but we focus in on the green zone. What are the school-wide ways that we help put in our culture to these kids and do things like that? And it's not a response to the red zone kids. And we historically, I think, have felt that our response to those higher yellow zone and those red zone kids is one of those things that's we struggle with as a district. And that we don't have enough systems, policies, and support for. So when I look at integrating it into MPSS, I personally, and this is just my opinion to help show that what I'm thinking, I don't see MTSS being a good fit for it. I do see PBIS being a better fit for it, but it's a part, the issue that we are trying to address is because PBIS does not already currently address that issue, right? If PBIS did, I think, a better, forgive me for my language, but a better job with those higher yellow zone kids and those red zone kids, we wouldn't be bringing this up because this issue would have already been taken care of. And so maybe it is expanding that role of PBIS and maybe changing that role, but I don't think it's something that we're just going to say, hey, now you guys do it and walk away from it without having training, having a shift in understanding of what that PBIS committee does.
I also have concerns about when you say leadership. I've served on leadership in my building for quite a while. And we take care of a lot of the nuts and bolts of the buildings. We take care of a lot of the, this is what's coming up. Let's organize around this thing. We got to get our kids ready for these pieces. Here comes testing, and all of those types of meetings and agendas. And I'm just seeing the potential for the work that we feel is important around addressing the discipline needs of the building could get lost in a shuffle of a wide variety of things, whether it's, the academic needs through an MTSS, like Mark is saying, or even the nuts and bolts of a leadership committee. Do you have any thoughts about that?
I do want to say something about the systems piece. I don't know I don't have knowledge of what's happening in individual building, but MTSS is systems, just systems. So it's not academic, whatever. And then what are the systems under MTSS? I think of MTSS as more of an umbrella.
Okay.
And then PBIS is your behavior system, or maybe it's not PBIS, maybe it's some other letters, but something with behavior, right? And then you have something with academic, attendance, other things. You can have lots of systems. And if red zone systems, because these wouldn't be talking about individual students and what does Eric need and what does Angela need, right? So if red zone systems aren't being talked about, that would be a good place to talk about systems for.
I also feel like what's been discussed is why it's so important, and this was brought up in our small committee when we were meeting. The duties of the committee are clearly articulated here, right? Because the reality is, I feel like if these 5 things are being done, and these are the 5 things that we have consensus on that needs to occur, that's the most important thing, right? Not what's the committee's name, not does it exist here at this time, is it part of something else? Are these duties happening with fidelity, and is that information being shared out?
In my experience, MTSS lives with data from Panorama. Data from Panorama is academic and attendance.
And behavioral.
And
That's all 3.
Not in the Panorama that I've seen, that's been shared with me, or that I have access to.
When I think in our small group, when we were talking about when some situations came up and we were talking about it at the elementary, for Amanda and I, it was like, oh, that happens in our tier too. oh, that happens in tier 3, and there was conversation about middle and high school getting there, but that was a lot of the conversation where we could plug in where those things can happen. And I know that's a work in progress.
Tracy, what are you gonna say?
I was just gonna add Swiss is another tool that we often use to help look at the referral data, breaks it down really nicely.
I know of it.
Different.
I've never seen it.
Okay. Any other questions? Any questions? No? Okay.
Oh, wait, there's more. I think. Is there one more?
One more.
18, 33.
32
So
more.
there's no, well, you went over everything that changed in this, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing except for the ones that got. There's 33 right there.
Exactly. Yeah, two more.
The bone every,
No.
don't look at it yet.
Okay.
The sneaker.
Too late.
Don't look at it. Might look familiar. Big time. Eric already looked at it. Especially when I told him.
So much pride.
Thank you.
Write your name on the back.
It's like Schrodinger's cat.
Okay, so 33 is the last article that's part of this package. 35, spoiler alert, is just, we're willing to sign off on as you proposed it. So it's not part of the package. That one's just, we're willing to TA that one.
Okay.
That was professional services, and it was largely editorial changes to that. And we're fine with those. 33 is part of the package. We are asking you to move off your position on this article. We talked about this one before. We prefer current language. I understand that there is a scenario that has caused your proposal in this. I mean, from my perspective, when we bargain a contract, that's the agreement. And we don't want practices to then become the new contract in effect. That's what our worry is about your proposed language. We believe that the law provides a dispute resolution process if you feel like we've changed something that's in a mandatory subject. Does that mean we'll never have disputes? No. I think if you look at one of the most litigated things under the Collective Bargaining Act, it is this topic of what's a mandatory subject and whether there's been a change in it. So I feel like the structure's there. I think we're unwilling to look at changes that kind of waive districts' legal rights, and that would, this language that you proposed, we feel like would do that. So we're asking you to go back to current contract language as part of this package of articles. We feel like there's been movement on both sides. If you look at these articles kind of as a full batch, we've had a lot of good discussion, some good changes to these articles. We feel like there's improvements in the leave articles. We feel like collectively we've done good work in 8 and 18 and the other ones as well. So we're hoping that you'll look at these as a collective and return to current language on 33. as part of that package. 35, again, we're fine to sign off on your last proposal.
Okay.
We had no proposal on 35. So that one we're good with.
Okay. Any questions?
Kind of chat about it for a little while and let us know what you want to do. Probably want to move
Should
forward.
we grab sandwiches? While we do that?
Well,
Otherwise we have to break
Do you want
again.
to eat yet?
I'm thinking, no.
Okay.
Well, I was thinking I'd like to meet with our members and have some time to converse.
I think we're gonna grab food. If you're okay with that, we'll eat.
Yeah, but-
We want to grab food.
Yeah, I think it makes sense.
Eat and chat.
Yeah, but let's talk to our members first.
Oh, you wasn't going.